What if I told you that the absolute most powerful weapon against kitchen bacteria isn't actually that harsh chemical-smelling bottle of bleach sitting under your sink?
Right, the one we all have.
Exactly. But what if it's actually a substance so gentle that eye doctors literally spray it directly into human eyes? Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a compound that is incredibly up to 100 times more effective at killing germs than bleach, yet safe enough to use on an open wound.
Yeah, and it sounds, well, completely counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to this idea that destroying germs requires these hazardous, noxious chemicals. But there's this massive shift toward this alternative, hypochlorous acid, or HOCl, and it's a very real movement happening right now across, medical, industrial, and domestic fields.
Right. And to guide us through this microscopic battle between traditional bleach and HOCl, we're pulling from a really comprehensive breakdown provided by Era Organics. They've gathered all the scientific research and the practical applications comparing these two disinfectants. So our mission today is to basically shortcut your journey to becoming a much more informed consumer about the exact compounds you're spraying in your home, on your counters and on your own body.
Absolutely, because when we finally understand the mechanism of how these things work at a molecular level, we realize that stronger doesn't necessarily have to mean more toxic.
So let's zoom way in on that mechanism, because to understand how something can be both safer for your face and stronger against bacteria than bleach, we really need to look at the microscopic chemistry of the kill. How do these two substances actually attack a bacterium?
Well, the battle is essentially won or lost based on electrical charges. So let's start with bleach. The active ingredient in standard household bleach is sodium hypochlorite. When you dissolve that in water, it forms hypochlorite ions, which are chemically represented as OCl-.
Okay, so the minus means those ions carry a negative electrical charge.
They do, yeah. And the really crucial detail here is that bacterial cell walls, the outer defensive shields of the pathogens you're trying to destroy, those also carry a negative electrical charge.
Oh, interesting. So using bleach is basically like trying to push two magnets with the same negative charge together. They just constantly repel each other.
That visual is spot on, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the bleach molecule and the bacterial wall are both negatively charged, the bacteria actively repels the bleach. I mean, the bleach eventually breaks through, but it essentially has to just batter down the door.
It's a slow process.
Very slow. And it requires a massive concentration of the chemical just to overcome that magnetic resistance.
Got it. So that's the brute force method. How does hypochlorous acid operate differently then?
Well, hypochlorous acid is a completely neutral molecule, carries no electrical charge at all.
Oh.
Right, so when it encounters that negatively charged bacterial cell wall, there is no magnetic repulsion. It doesn't have to batter down the door. It just slips right through the membrane.
So it acts like a ghost just walking effortlessly through the bacteria's defensive wall.
Exactly. It bypasses the external defenses completely. And once it's inside the cell, it rapidly destroys the internal proteins and DNA, killing the pathogen from the inside out almost instantly. And, the scientific literature confirms just how massive this advantage is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a 2019 study by Sarah R. Thorne titled Hypochlorous Acid Generating Electrochemical Scaffold for Treatment of Wound Biofilms, and actually showed that HOCl is 80 to 100 times more potent as a germicide than sodium hypochlorite.
Wait, 80 to 100 times more potent? I mean, when you're talking about medical grade sanitization, that kind of multiplier is just a staggering difference.
It truly is. And it comes down entirely to that penetration ability. There was another study from 2022 by Hao Zhang that looked at acidic hypochlorous water against biofilms of Listeria and E. coli.
Okay.
And Zhang's research visualized and confirmed this exact mechanism. They demonstrated that the uncharged HOCl molecule easily penetrates the cell, whereas the charged hypochlorite ion in bleach just really struggles to get inside, often requiring extended contact time and much higher concentrations just to breach the outer wall.
Okay, but see, if HOCl slips right through the cell walls of pathogens to destroy them from the inside like that, my immediate thought is about human safety. If it's this incredibly potent microscopic assassin, how is it not just melting our skin off?
Right, and we can call that the safety paradox of hypochlorous acid. The reason it doesn't harm human tissue is really just a matter of biological elegance. Hypochlorous acid is not a foreign synthetic chemical invented in a lab. It is actually produced naturally by the human immune system.
Hold on, wait. Our own white blood cells make this stuff natural?
Yes, they do. When your body detects an invading pathogen, your white blood cells manufacture hypochlorous acid to fight off the infection.
Wow.
Because it is a substance natively found in human biology, the body just recognizes it as safe.
So we're basically just bottling the exact weapon our own immune system uses?
Precisely. And that innate safety is totally reflected in the pH levels. Hypochlorous acid solutions are usually maintained at a near neutral or slightly acidic pH, right around 5 to 6.
Okay.
And that perfectly matches the natural state of human tissue. Bleach, by contrast, is highly alkaline, sitting way up at a pH of 11 to 13.
Let's pause on that for a second because, we hear terms like highly alkaline all the time on cleaning bottles, but what does that actually do to us physically? Like, why does a high pH cause burns?
It triggers a process called saponification.
Saponification.
Yeah. When a highly alkaline substance like bleach comes into contact with the natural fats and oils in your skin, it reacts chemically to turn those fats into soap.
Oh my.
Yeah. So if you've ever spilled bleach on your fingers and noticed they feel incredibly slippery or slimy.
Yes. And it takes forever to wash off no matter how much water you use.
Right, because you aren't feeling the bleach.
Wow.
You are literally feeling your own skin dissolving and turning into soap.
Oh, that is so gross.
It is. That high pH stabilizes the bleach in the bottle, but it's exactly what strips your skin, causes severe chemical burns, and releases hazardous chlorine gases that irritate your lungs. But hypochlorous acid, with its neutral pH, does absolutely none of that.
Wow.
In fact, it is so safe that both the FDA and the USDA recognize HOCl as a safe, no-rinse sanitizer for produce and food contact materials. You can literally spray it on an apple and eat it right away.
Okay, I have to stop you there because my brain is really struggling to reconcile this. If it's so gentle the FDA says I can just eat an apple sprayed with it, how can I trust it to handle, like, raw chicken juice on a cutting board? It sounds almost too weak for heavy-duty jobs.
I get that. We've been so conditioned to associate harsh smells and burning skin with effective cleaning. But the strength lies in the concentration math.
Okay, lay it on me.
To achieve a sterile surface on that cutting board, a standard household bleach solution needs a concentration of about 1,000 parts per million.
Right.
But remember your ghost analogy. Because HOCl effortlessly bypasses bacterial defenses without being magnetically repelled, it doesn't need overwhelming numbers. It achieves the exact same microbial kill rate as that heavy bleach solution at a concentration of only 200 parts per million.
Wait, really? Which means it's using, what, 80% less active chemical to achieve the exact same level of sterilization?
Exactly. A weaker solution of HOCl is just as effective as a much stronger bleach solution. You get total disinfection with a fraction of the chemical exposure.
That's wild. But, if it's penetrating bacterial cell walls that effectively, it makes you wonder how it handles larger fungal structures. Like, take mold, for instance. Bleach is always the traditional go-to for a damp basement. But based on what you just said about penetration, is bleach actually getting to the root of the mold?
It isn't, no. And reaching for bleach to fight mold is a very common mistake people make.
Really?
Yeah, the high surface tension and chemical makeup of bleach, it mostly just sits on the surface. It bleaches the color out of the mold stain, making it invisible, but it leaves the underlying root structure of the fungus completely alive inside the porous surface of the drywall or the wood.
So it looks clean, but it's basically just a cosmetic fix. The mold is just going to regrow the second it gets damp again.
Exactly. Hypochlorous acid, on the other hand, penetrates those porous surfaces much more effectively. It travels down to the biological root of the fungus and neutralizes it completely, addressing the actual source of the problem.
That makes so much sense.
And because you don't have those toxic off-gassing fumes, you can deep clean a tiny, unventilated bathroom safely.
Oh, the lack of fumes has to be a total game changer for places where you can't just open a window, like, say, a hospital.
Oh, the impact on public health is massive. Hospitals are increasingly utilizing HOCl to sanitize patient rooms. Think about a norovirus outbreak in a hospital ward.
Okay.
Norovirus is notoriously difficult to kill. If you use bleach to disinfect the room, the toxic fumes are so intense you literally have to evacuate the patients, which is incredibly dangerous and disruptive.
Right, moving sick patients is awful.
But with HOCl, the staff can achieve hospital-grade sterilization that destroys hardy pathogens while the patients are still sitting right there in the room without causing any respiratory distress whatsoever.
Because it's literally the same chemical their own immune systems are making anyway.
Exactly. And its applications in medicine go way deeper into wound care, too. We mentioned Lori Robbins' 2025 paper earlier.
Right.
She detailed HOCl's power against chronic wound biofilms, specifically how it dismantles a really stubborn bacteria called Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
Wait, before we move on, what exactly is a biofilm? Is that just a fancy word for a layer of slime?
Essentially, yes.
Right.
When certain bacteria multiply, they secrete this slimy glue-like substance that anchors them to a surface like a wound bed and forms a protective shield over the colony.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, and this biofilm is incredibly resistant to traditional antibiotics and disinfectants. Bleach would destroy the biofilm, sure, but it would also destroy the patient's healthy tissue. HOCl penetrates that slimy biofilm shield and kills the Pseudomonas aeruginosa bacteria underneath without damaging the delicate new skin cells trying to heal the wound.
It acts like microscopic special forces just bypassing the shield and taking out the target.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
The aeroorganics breakdown actually outlines so many other sensitive applications based on this exact principle. Like, veterinary clinics use it to treat pet wounds because it doesn't sting. Dermatologists recommend it for acne because it reduces inflammation and kills bacteria without drying out the face like harsh astringents do.
Right.
They even use specialized HOCl formulas for ophthalmic hygiene, treating eye conditions like blepharitis by safely cleaning crusty bacterial buildup right off the lash line.
It just really showcases the immense versatility of a non-toxic, pH-neutral antimicrobial.
Totally. But what about the sensory experience? Because, we are very psychologically tied to how a clean house smells.
We really are.
Bleach leaves a strong, lingering scent that makes a lot of people feel, secure that their house is deeply clean. Does HOCl leave that reassuring scent?
Well, we definitely associate the smell of harsh chemicals with safety. But that lingering bleach smell is actually the scent of toxic respiratory irritants hanging in your air. Hypochlorous acid takes a completely different approach to odor removal. It doesn't mask bad smells with a heavy chemical perfume. Instead, it actively attacks and breaks down the volatile organic compounds, the VOCs.
And VOCs are what exactly? Just airborne chemicals?
Yes, VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, are gases emitted from certain solids or liquids. So in a household context, they are the airborne chemical compounds released by decaying food in your trash can, pet urine on a rug, or even just the pungent smell of cooking fish.
Got it.
Your nose registers these airborne molecules as a bad smell. When you spray HOCl into the air or on the surface, it oxidizes those molecules. It breaks apart the molecular structure of the VOCs, as well as the proteins and fats that the odor-causing bacteria are actually feeding on.
Oh, so it neutralizes the smell at the molecular source rather than just throwing a heavy floral scent over the top of it to trick your nose.
Precisely. It is nearly odorless itself, leaving behind a truly neutral, fresh environment. And as for the residual chemical layer bleach leaves behind, HOCl doesn't do that. It achieves its microbial kill in 15 seconds to 2 minutes on the surface. And once it has done its job, it simply degrades and turns into a harmless, mild saline solution.
Okay, so the catch there must be the residual effect, right? If it turns into harmless salt water after 2 minutes, it's not sitting there guarding the surface all day like a thick layer of bleach would.
That is the trade-off, yes. Because it leaves no active residual film, you don't get long-term chemical protection on that surface. The surface is completely sterile at the moment of contact, but if someone sneezes on that counter an hour later, the HOCl is already gone.
Makes sense.
So in high-traffic areas, you might need to apply it more frequently than a toxic chemical that just sits there off-gassing all day. But because it requires no rinsing and no protective gloves, frequent application is super easy.
Okay, but if HOCl kills faster, is safer for humans, neutralizes odors at the source, and mimics our own immune system, why is bleach still dominating the grocery store aisles?
Well, it really just comes down to logistics, shelf life, and cost. Sodium hypochlorite is incredibly cheap to mass produce. You can buy a massive gallon of bleach for somewhere between $4 and $8.
True.
And because of its high alkalinity, it is very chemically stable, has a long shelf life. It can sit in a hot warehouse, then on a grocery store shelf, and then under your sink for a year, and still be totally potent.
Plus, bleach is an industrial heavyweight, right?
It is. There are definitely scenarios where bleach is the most suitable choice. If you need deep whitening of fabrics, bleach alters pigments in a way HOCl doesn't.
Right.
If you are dealing with massive industrial manufacturing processes that need high alkalinity to break down thick, heavy grease, you need bleach. And for large-scale municipal water treatment facilities, buying highly stable bleach in bulk is currently the most economically viable way to sanitize water.
So what is the economic reality of HOCl for the average person then?
Pre-made bottled hypochlorous acid is expensive. A specialized bottle from a skincare line or medical supply company will cost you $15 to $30 just for a small quart. And unlike bleach, pre-mixed HOCl is relatively unstable. It actually loses its potency after a few months.
Oh, wow. Okay, $30 a quart that expires in a few months is definitely why it hasn't replaced the $4 gallon of bleach. But the Era Organic source highlighted a fascinating workaround for this, the at-home electrolysis machine.
Yes. This is where technology is really democratizing access. You can purchase a countertop appliance for an initial investment of around $100 to $300. And this machine allows you to generate endless, fresh batches of hypochlorous acid right in your kitchen using literally just tap water, non-iodized salt, and electricity.
Okay, I need to know the how here. How do those three basic things, salt, water, and electrical plug, turn into a hospital-grade disinfectant?
It's molecular reconstruction using an electrochemical cell.
Okay.
Inside the pitcher of the machine, you have an anode and a cathode, positive and negative electrical poles. When you pass electricity through the saltwater solution, the electrical current literally breaks apart the molecules. It separates the sodium and chloride ions in the salt and the hydrogen and oxygen atoms in the water.
So you're stripping it all down to its raw elemental parts.
Exactly. The machine then forces those free atoms to recombine in a new way. At the positive pole, chloride ions lose electrons to become chlorine gas, which immediately reacts with the water to form hypochlorous acid. You are taking the chlorine from the salt and binding it with the oxygen and hydrogen from the water to create HOCl.
You're literally doing molecular chemistry on your kitchen counter.
You are.
And once you own the machine, you are generating this non-toxic disinfectant for pennies per gallon, completely bypassing the shelf life issue.
And you're completely bypassing the environmental damage of bleach, too. Because when bleach is washed down the drain and enters our waterways, it reacts with organic matter in the environment to form halogenated organic compounds.
Let me guess, those are the bad guys. Why are they a problem?
They are a huge problem. Halogenated organic compounds are created when the chlorine in bleach binds with carbon-based material in the water. These new chemical compounds are highly toxic and incredibly persistent, meaning they don't break down naturally. Yeah, they accumulate in the soil and water systems, disrupting aquatic ecosystems and killing beneficial microorganisms. Bleach leaves a lasting toxic footprint. Hypochlorous acid, however, simply degrades back into harmless salt water. It leaves behind zero toxic residues and doesn't build up in the food chain at all.
So bleach is like carpet bombing the entire kitchen. You kill the enemy, but you leave a toxic wasteland behind. And HOCl is like sending in microscopic special forces. It slips past the defenses, takes out the target from the inside, and then just dissolves without a trace.
A perfect summary, really. Yeah. We are finally moving away from the idea that disinfection requires poisoning our environment toward a model of working with natural chemistry.
Man, we've covered a lot of ground today. We started by staring at that intimidating bottle of toxic bleach under the sink, learning how a simple neutral electrical charge allows a molecule to effortlessly defeat bacterial fortress walls. We saw how this biological mimicry allows us to safely sanitize everything from a hospital ward to an open wound to the food we eat without leaving a trace of toxic residue.
We did. And based on everything we've explored today, there is a really compelling final thought to leave you with. If our own immune systems evolved over millions of years to manufacture hypochlorous acid to protect us from the inside, and we now possess the simple technology to sustainably recreate that exact same molecule on our kitchen countertops using nothing but salt, water, and electricity, what other elegant natural biological processes might we eventually harness to replace the harsh synthetic chemicals currently dominating our daily lives?
That is a phenomenal question to ponder. The answers are probably already inside us, just waiting to be discovered. So the next time you open that cabinet under your sink and reach for the harsh chemicals, maybe ask yourself if it isn't time to trade the carpet bombing for the special forces. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.